Lessons from Behind My Chair is a podcast that aims to fill your cup with a fresh squeezed dose of clarity, courage, and bliss. Join your host, Angela B. Fuller, each Sunday at 6 for real, raw, light bulb conversations, and follow along at Angela B. Fuller on Instagram and Facebook. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, as well as rate 5 stars and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Now, let's get into the show.
Hey love, welcome back to another episode of Lessons from Behind My Chair. I'm your host, Angela B. Fuller, master hairstylist turned certified life coach. And today, I'm not traveling solo today. I got my ride or die with me.
Hey y'all.
In case you don't know, I'm going to have her introduce herself, in case you don't know her.
Hi, I'm her daughter, Esprit. I've been on an episode before a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, I guess.
A few weeks ago, yeah.
But I'm back. Here I am.
Yeah, we're going to be, this episode is about consistency. And so, I just feel like I want to recap my whole week, or recap the experience of getting into podcasting, but specifically focusing on this week. And I invited Esprit on to just sit this one with me because she's experienced some of the results of my being consistent. And we just want to hold a conversation and invite the listeners and my YouTubers into our space. So welcome. But before we get into the episode of consistency, I've got a pop quiz.
Okay.
Let's so what? Pause.
Just keep going.
I don't know what I ain't had a pop question. Okay, so
Yeah, this is just a little rough draft. This is a little run through.
Okay, so what do you do? I have a pop question for you before we dive into the episode. So what do you do when
Am I answering this, or is this only for people watching?
This is I want you to. What about you? Let me hear your.
Okay, ask me the pop question.
Okay, so what do you do? How do you celebrate when what you've been working on?
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to see a little bit of light.
How do I celebrate?
How do you celebrate?
Food.
Do you get out?
Food.
Okay. Now explain that. What do you mean food? What do you mean food?
I either eat something, cook something, and then eat it. Go out to eat and then eat the food.
Okay.
But I'm eating food.
Okay.
Good food.
Okay. All right. So comment below, how do you celebrate when you've been working on something and you start to see the light?
How do you celebrate it? Sometimes you have a little problem celebrating yourself. So how do you celebrate it?
Let's see where
Miss
you're going.
Host.
Let's see where you're going.
See, when you're alone, you don't have to answer the questions.
I actually dance. I dance.
Okay.
I dance in the privacy of my home, or I dance in my salon, or I dance in my podcast studio, or I get in the mirror and I just act silly. Yeah, I did it. I made my goal. I did it. I made my goal. That's how I celebrate.
Okay.
So, we all have different ways of celebrating. And so I think that we just all need to be more conscious of how we celebrate ourselves. Not only that we celebrate ourselves, be conscious of how we celebrate, and make sure that it resonates with us. Because I remember back in the day, long before motherhood and wifehood and churchhood, all those hoods, I was a dancing machine. So hey, when I accomplish something, I celebrate. I dance.
You was dancing, just off your own volition. Just going out, just dancing.
Just dancing.
Not just water in your system, dancing.
Low something.
Okay.
A low something, low sweet water. Yeah, that's what like the little sweetened water.
A little grown water.
A little grown water. So let's talk about consistency.
Okay.
And let's talk about what happens when we're consistent and the pace that it happens and everything that goes with being consistent, everything with that negative voice in our head telling us, oh, it wasn't all that little thing, or you can do better than that. Let's talk about that. So do you, what do you do? How do you stay consistent? I mean, for real.
I mean, that's a good question because it's a good question, but it's a hard question to answer because I don't think I'm as consistent as I should or think I should be. So when I'm in moments, when I have moments of consistency,
where do you have a tendency to be most consistent when you say, okay, like we're all in this health journey,
I just kind of do it. Journey, it's just when I do it, I don't think about it for too long. If I think about it for too long, I'm not gonna do it.
What throws you off track? What do you think?
Myself, I don't know, the ease of not having to do it.
The ease of
it's easier to, it's technically, like physically easier to just lay down, watch a movie, take a nap. When it comes to even something as, I enjoy cooking, but cooking for myself, it's easier to order something, just sit and wait for it and then it appears, than it technically is to, prepare all the ingredients and cook the meal and do all that kind of stuff. But it's not necessarily better for you in many ways. But as far as if you have a goal to accomplish, not taking the necessary steps for as long as you need to take them is not going to get you the goal. So it's not the easier thing, it just is prolonging what you want.
But sometimes, even if I don't necessarily have a goal, even if it's not something some major thing I'm trying to achieve, sometimes I just want to be consistent with going to bed early. Sometimes I just want to be so that I get up in the morning, my body feel more rested.
But that's the goal. Even like the goal doesn't have to be, I don't think the goal has to be this big, giant, monumental, singular moment, right? Like it doesn't have to be an event or a certain amount of money that you want to make or a certain weight that you want to get to. But general health practices of getting to bed early, making sure you drink enough water, cooking more of your own meals, like that kind of stuff isn't for a specific one-time goal, but you want to try and, with sleep, I want to consistently get to bed because my goal is to wake up feeling more rested or being able to get through my day more easily. And then if you want to think about it deeper of like, well, sleep can affect so many things
but
10 years down the line.
It's interesting because if you think about it, I know when I think about it, if I was to sit down and look at a 24-hour period in my life, and then I track that for a whole week.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of areas I'm being consistent in.
Yeah.
But I don't think about it. But sometimes I feel like when we try and be so specific, we feel like, I know with me, I sometimes feel like it has to be something more monumental in order for me to set the goal to be consistent.
Right.
Not necessarily set a goal to do a thing, just do the thing. But I find when I set the goal to be consistent, regardless of what the thing is, that's when I fall off. Instead of making it organic.
Yeah.
Just organic.
Well, I think at that point it becomes a checklist of things. And most people don't enjoy, I mean, some people love checklists. But there's a group of people who don't enjoy having a list of things that they have to do. And it becomes a resentful thing because it feels like additional things you'd have to throw into your routine.
Yeah.
Like you don't think of brushing your teeth as a to-do thing, but it
is
is
so consistent with that.
Twice a day. It's a consistent thing.
So that's what I'm saying. So,
but it's because it's a part of the routine. And so when it comes to like your job or a business you're trying to start or exercise or weight loss or just your health in general. When you're thinking of it as an additional thing that you have to throw into your day, it feels like a burden. Rather than another habit that you want to have.
So I want to try and work around that.
Yeah.
So instead of, like you said, an additional thing, it's just a thing.
Right.
In my day.
Right.
It's just a thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do that. Because you know how on Sundays, my goal is to take Sunday. I think I did a
they say
post about it.
They say it takes 30 days.
On the gram. Yeah.
30 days to develop a habit.
Well, on
so maybe
Sundays,
you have to actively be consistent with something for 30 days, and then it just feels like the norm.
Well, I know I've made it a point. I'm making it a point on Sundays to plan out my week.
Right.
The trouble is being consistent with that. Not necessarily doing the thing I say I want to do, because I do it anyway. But just being consistent to take Sunday as the day.
And like put it on paper.
Put it on paper and plan out my whole week.
Yeah.
I think I think sometimes I don't want to feel mechanical.
Yeah. You want to feel like you're doing things
organically and be in flow.
But there's just certain things you can't be in flow with.
Man, no. I remember
until you can be in flow with them.
I remember when I was in my 20s, my early 20s, my mid 20s, my late 20s. That was my word.
Mommy,
go with the flow.
Mommy, you had the energy to be in flow.
I don't have it now.
You didn't have a child in your 20s. You didn't have a child. You didn't have your own business. You weren't working towards another business. There were a lot of things that were different. You were married. You were literally a single woman in her 20s. Guess who was also just going with the flow?
Going with the flow.
Me.
Going with the flow. When?
I still go with the flow now, which is probably part of my issue. When it comes to consistency in certain things, so I'm just going with the flow.
And so so that that.
And when you're in your 20s, you feel like you have so much time. Like even though conceptually I know that I technically don't, but in your 20s, if you're ideally thinking that you're gonna live to 100, you're like, I have 70 years. I have so much time.
But then there are some 20-year-olds,
of course, who are on it, and I admire them, and I know them. I know those people, and it's admirable. But it also, it's not like they started that in their 20s. They have probably been like that since middle school.
Yes.
Or at least since high school. Yes. They've had a plan or an idea of what they wanted to do, and they just needed the opportunity, money, time, and the motivation and drive to continue to do something. So, I mean, that's also based on personality types.
I think so.
There's a lot of things.
I remember when you were growing up, my thing with you was you go with what feels good.
Right.
You knew there was a set of things that you had to do that had to be done. And you went with what felt good. Even think about children who's in Montessori school. Same concept.
I was in Montessori school.
You sure were. And I think, like you were saying, people who have those personalities of just
it's like a type A personality.
A type A personality. Yeah. But I also think different personalities. I think that you could still accomplish everything you want.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be so mechanical to be consistent.
Yeah, I think there's also a matter of passion and finding the thing that makes you tick, because even if you are someone that's super hardworking and really organized and really good in that set of skills, if you don't know at the very least conceptually what it is that you're reaching for, there's not really many steps that you can take to get to that invisible place. Right? So there are artists, artists have a goal in mind, but they are definitely people that go with the flow. I think of friends of mine that are artists, and even myself when I was in like a more performance mindset when it came to theater, I have friends who act, who have a vocal ability to sing, who are like visual artists, and they don't necessarily, some of them may have a main goal within their artistry, but some people just they just want to be inspired by what inspires them and go from there, and they might develop some sort of business mindedness because they want to be able to pay their rent with their art. but they still just kind of, they have a very like almost laissez-faire
Because
personality, but it's not
people
because
don't
they're
wanna be put in a
lazy.
box.
Yeah, they're not lazy, but they're just like,
yeah.
you know, wait and see what comes to me, and until then I'm just sort of feeling things out. And for some people that can seem like the worst idea in the world. That can feel like you have no structure, you have no direction, how are you going to get there? But
Yeah.
they accomplish what they want to accomplish.
That's
they just
right.
do it differently.
That's right. I think I'm one of those type of individuals.
But someone
I think I live.
who goes with the
I go with the flow, but I also think that I live with intention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I set the intention, but I think that whatever it is you want to make different changes you want, I think that you can enjoy the process along the way. I think sometimes when we try and be consistent, we have to be a certain way. We have to carry a certain aura, a certain stance, you know? And I think, when I think about it,
what? When you think about it, what? Tell me.
I think, I think it's reminding me of a conversation we've had in the past.
I don't think the listeners can understand. Yeah.
I think it's about a conversation that we've had in the past about getting it done, making your point known, and still be yourself. Not having to fit a certain mode or a certain box.
Get off your hands.
Not because I'm uncomfortable, but now I'm talking.
Yeah.
It's real right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just keep going. I think it all boils down to just being yourself.
Yeah.
Living into your purpose, living into your flow, being okay with just being you.
I mean,
not being concerned of how you are perceived.
Yeah.
But knowing that what you put out into the world is enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's easier to be consistent with anything that other people are going to see if you don't think anyone's going to see it.
Say that one more time.
I think it's easier to be consistent in doing an action that other people will see if you don't think about the fact that other people are going to see it.
That other people are going to see it.
Like
that's
if you think about,
that's spot on.
Like I think this past week you've been pretty consistent with posting on Instagram, which social media is not like a thing that comes naturally to you.
It does not. It does not.
And I think you've posted every day this week.
Every day,
some
because
sort of
that
reel
was
or
my
picture
goal.
or story or whatever.
That was my goal.
And it's done every time. You've done better and better. Like you've gotten a little bit more engagement each time. You've gained a few followers. You know, you've been doing really well. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you, love.
You're welcome.
But you know what,
but
baby? Go ahead.
You continuously, if you post in a way where you don't think anyone who follows you or anyone who just has access to Instagram is going to see it, then you're more likely to be. Yeah. You're more likely to feel in flow and feel more authentic when you're doing it, because you're not thinking about anyone putting any judgment, anyone disliking or liking and then expecting a certain thing.
Preach, girl. Preach.
You're just posting it because you're like, oh, I like this video, or this is something, a thought that I had, or this was something that I conceptualized and could see, and so I want to put it on the platform that I have. And if people see it, sure, they'll see it. If they don't see it, then they don't see it. But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I think sometimes
I'm also talking to myself.
You're talking about yourself too, and I'm sure we're talking about those who are listening and our viewers, because sometimes we think if we're not doing it a certain way, then we're not. What's the word? We won't be taken seriously.
Right.
And then we take the joy and the fun out of it, and then we become stuffy and stagnant, and we don't robotic, and then we don't do it. Yeah. And so I think that's where we drop the ball.
I feel like your body
when it
starts
comes
to
to
resist
consistency.
Body starts to resist.
Like right now, I'm sitting with my hand up. I'm just chilling with my daughter, just talking about consistency, like we would do if we were at home on our couch.
Yeah, in the mornings we have a little coffee.
And I think women need to know that it's okay. It's okay to show up in the world as you. with all of you. Just be sure that the content, what you're putting out, is authentic and you feel like somebody can grow and learn from it. And I think when you do that, it's easy to be consistent.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking about it. You're not judging. You're not questioning yourself. How can you question yourself when you're being authentic when it's just you in the mirror in your bedroom or whatever? But the minute you know or we know someone is watching, it changes everything.
For some people.
For some.
Because some people love, they love the idea that other people are going to see it. But I think that those are people who are very confident in being who they are. Like, because there's a difference between trying to discover who you are, especially in an internet space or just in a new space, and having a bit of apprehension there. Yes. In your case, it's more the internet, social media, podcasting, YouTube, that kind of thing. For me, it's also kind of a new space in terms of taking on, the possibilities of my own business and that kind of thing. That's a new space, so it doesn't feel comfortable to talk about or to present. And I'm trying to more and more, but with you, it's the internet is a new space as a career or job or as a creative outlet in this way.
At the same time, Esprit,
you're still being yourself.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's challenging you. I do love it.
It's challenging you.
And that's
you're a great person, and so you need to realize that you're a great person.
Well, I appreciate that, love.
You're welcome.
But I want women. I want us to just be who we are.
Yeah.
And be okay with that. And those who are judging us, listen. Those who are judging us, they're not our tribe.
She was about to say something else, y'all.
They're not our people.
Had to stop herself short.
So it's okay. I mean, what do you feel about it? Those who judge you and not to give you constructive criticism.
I mean, that's not what you're making your content for.
So that's right.
That's not what you're starting your business for. That's not what you're selling a product for or a service. If people don't want it, then it's not for them.
It's not for them.
Yeah.
It's not for them. So I just hope that we as women, young women, middle-aged, older women in my age bracket, 60. I'll be 61 in December. There's more.
Good, girl.
Thank you now. Thank you now. I dance.
Yeah.
Don't get me started with the dance. But I just want women of a certain age to know that there's plenty left. There's plenty left. 60 and before, going backwards, we did it, but we did it for other people in mind. We did it for others. We poured into others. And it is not selfish for us to pour into ourselves on a consistent basis. It ain't selfish at all.
I know that's right.
And I'm glad you're learning it at age 27.
Y'all, she thought I was 28.
I did. No, seriously. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
Because your birthday is the 28th. And seriously.
I am your only child.
The only one I pushed out.
It's the only birthday that you ever need to know.
But for some reason, you've always been wise beyond your years.
No. You've
always been wise beyond your years.
We're not doing the wise beyond your years thing.
I thought you were 28. Yeah.
Trying to push me to 30.
Hey girl, it's coming in. Ain't long.
Nothing wrong with 30.
Ain't
I'm
long.
not there yet.
So let me ask you a question. So what have you determined to be consistent about as it pertains to your gifts, your talents? What are you? Talk to me. Talk to the people.
Hey people.
That's right.
I mean, I do need to be, I know for sure I do need to be a lot more consistent when it comes to informing myself about the things that I'm passionate about in regards to nutrition and holistic living and sustainability and food and that kind of thing. Because I know what I know, but I feel like I'm still in very much the learning stages of having a full, like, well-rounded knowledge of that information. And so that's where a lot of my apprehension comes from when it comes to consistently giving information to other people, is I feel like I'm still learning, even though we're always learning.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel a little inadequate in my knowledge of certain even baseline things, that it feels uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that's where imposter syndrome kind of creeps up, and this sort of that feeling of being judged, because I'm concerned with if I'm saying the right thing, if I know the right thing, if I look the right way, if I look like I play the part, kind of thing. So I think that's where my consistency needs to come from, and not just when it comes to posting on Instagram or posting on TikTok or posting on YouTube or whatever, or putting out the information that I know even on the website. Being more confident in what I have to say, and if I'm not, doing the proper steps to inform myself, whether that be going to workshops or taking classes or taking courses or asking other people in the profession that are more experienced than me.
Yes.
So it's just taking a little bit more initiative to develop that information and studying it on a daily basis. And I know that it's something that I have to work on.
But you know what, Esprit? And those listening and viewing,
my foot is asleep.
Oh, release it, girl. Release it. Release it. You know, as a purpose and confidence building coach, what I have learned is that consistency, getting rid of imposter syndrome, it all comes in the doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't come in the course that you take. It doesn't come in the books that you read. It doesn't come from listening to podcasts. It doesn't come from listening to individuals who are more experienced. When I tell you, the minute that I started doing the do, that's when that's a little, but
use the phrase
doing the do. Well, that's an old school saying. So for those who don't get it, it means doing the work.
Well, that is not what it means nowadays.
Okay, well, we'll scratch that.
I mean, it still means doing the work, just a different kind of work.
We'll scratch that. But consistency, confidence, courage, it comes from doing the work. Clarity, courage, and celebrating the bliss of doing it. It comes from doing the work. Even as a purpose and confidence building coach, I'm still in areas that I'm not as, I'm very clear, but I'm not as courageous in going forward. And I do it awkward, especially when I'm trying new things. So when you starting something new, you are going to feel awkward.
Yeah.
But it comes from doing.
For sure.
And it's amazing. It just seems like this week that really clicked for me. Doing it. And let me tell you something. People show you grace. I've never gotten so many reviews, so many comments, so many interaction. I got it when I decided I'm just going to show up authentic. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be authentic. That is where the rubber met the road and the difference was made. So, hey, I hear y'all been looking for me. Here I go. I'm coming in. I'm coming in as me. I want you to come in as you.
Okay.
I want my listeners. I want my viewers. Come in as you. Show up as you. Show up as you. Nobody can be you like you. And you try to be somebody else, you are going to be the worst of that person. When you try to be you, don't even try. Just be you. Just be you. And those who aren't supposed to be a part of your experience, they're going to back off. And guess what? That's what you want. If they're not supposed to be a part of your experience, they're going to back out, drop off, and that's what you want.
Period.
And that's on
song? Who?
Mary had a little lamb. Right? Right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
And that's on Pooh. Okay, enough. Enough. You see what happens when you hang out with 27-year-old.
No, this is what happens when you start scrolling through Instagram and TikTok like you're 27.
Like you're 27. Well, my thing is I want to stay relevant. I want to keep up. I want to know what young people do. Let me tell you, young women, younger women, they give me life. They give me life, and guess what? It's an even exchange because I give them wisdom. There you go. Do I bring wisdom to the table?
Yeah, you bring life too.
I bring life too?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, babe.
Yeah.
Thank you, babe. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I enjoy having you as a guest. Listen, I'm going to help you with that feeling, having inhibitions about putting yourself out there. I want you to tell the listeners and tell our viewers where you can be found. Do it for me. Do it again.
Okay, you guys can follow me on Instagram at esprit.ori. It'll be in the description somewhere, the spelling. And I'm on TikTok. I think it's just at Esprit Ori with no period. I think that's it, right? No,
That's
YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I will be more consistent.
That's
but
right.
it's just my first and last name, Esprit Ori. It'll all be linked down below because I'll be typing it up.
And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate what you bring.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You bring so much light to this world and to others.
Thanks
and
so
I want
much.
you to be clear about that. I want you to be courageous in that. And I want you to do it blissfully.
Yes, ma'am.
Because all of that is contagious.
Will do.
And I'm your girl, Angela B. Fuller. I'm your host. And you can find me on Instagram at Angela B. Fuller. You can find me on Facebook, Angela B. Fuller, and my website, angelabfuller.com.
She's also on TikTok.
Can you believe that?
At Angela B. Fuller.
Shocker.
Shocker.
My daughter put me on TikTok.
I did.
She put me on TikTok. And so this episode will be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. It's going to drop Sunday at 6 a.m. Is that it?
I want y'all to know, she is really excited right now. This is a different level of comfort than I'm used to seeing when we're filming.
That's right.
Also because the outro is pre-recorded.
Okay.
But give it to them. Where can they listen?
They can listen on Spotify. You can also listen on Google Podcasts
And
Apple Podcasts.
okay, where can
And
they
you
watch?
can
Can they
watch
watch it?
You can certainly watch on UBTube, on YouTube. You can watch on YouTube. And be sure to subscribe. That's old school. Be sure to subscribe and like and share it out with your friends. If you found value in it, you know someone who you feel would find value in it, please share. We would appreciate it. It would really help us out. Until next time, bye.
Bye. Good job, Mama.
Good job. Esprit. God.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Lessons from Behind My Chair. We'll see you next week for another juicy topic. Okay? Bye.